Hey there peeps, what's going on? This is Jeff aka Nomad Fury, and we've just concluded day one of Blockshow Asia 2019 here at the Marina Bay Sands, Singapore. So right now there is an ongoing side event, which is the NEO Singapore Meetup, and I was just fortunate enough to meet both Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance, and Da Hongfei, the founder of NEO. Okay, so right now I'm going to show you guys the full video of their Fireside chat. So guys, take a look.
I wanted to mention it, but I think it's a rare opportunity just to be able to sit down with either of you guys. You know, I've had the fortunate privilege of meeting you, Da, back in Seattle at NEO DevCon from this year, as well as talking to CZ just a few days ago. I think there's a lot of things that are going through people's minds and stuff in the cryptocurrency space, but the first thing that I like to ask with you guys is something a little more personal. How did you guys get to know one another?
Yeah, I think this is the first time we are on stage together. Is this the first time? Yeah.
There was another time we were on stage together. Well, not so much.
Finance event.
No, your event. The rebranding of Ant. The rebranding from Ant to NEO. June 22nd, 2017.
Wow. A true fan. A true fan.
So that's the time when we were very privileged that we issued the white paper. We said we're going to do an ICO, and that's the announcement day. So we actually had the privilege to announce the Binance ICO on the NEO rebranding conference. Okay, so thank you for that opportunity.
Cool. Awesome.
So guys, we've got a lot of things that we obviously want to talk about in this time. We're very limited and stuff, but I want to go ahead and start off by just asking you some key questions. I know that a lot has changed over the last year in the cryptocurrency space. 2019 has been a year of building, and I'm very curious to hear between the two of you and just kind of the stories between both NEO and Binance. What has been the biggest change for you guys over this last year?
Yeah, sure. We have a lot of changes, but there's two biggest changes for the last 6 months or so. So Binance have changed from a pure crypto to cryptocurrency to a crypto to crypto plus fiat to cryptocurrency. So we're no longer just a crypto to cryptocurrency exchange. I apologize. So we're not just a crypto to crypto exchange anymore. And the second biggest change is we're no longer just a spot exchange. So we're also a derivatives futures exchange. So those are really big changes. I think a lot of people still think of us as just the crypto to crypto spot exchange, and they don't know about our other offerings. So I think those are pretty big, significant changes for us.
For NEO, I think when we are moving ahead, the vision becomes more and more clear. I personally am involved with several projects. NEO, the first one, and then Ontology and on-chain custodian. All those projects, I believe, is the building blocks of the future internet. So we're not just doing coins, we're not just doing blockchain, we are building the next generation of internet.
Awesome. You know, to go through those points you guys made, I mean, it's easy in this case, like, you know, you guys are obviously trying to reach not just obviously. I think the less than 1% of global adoption we've had so far, you guys are actually going into regions through a lot of developing countries, bringing in fiat pairings that I think most people in the traditional financial sector and even some major crypto exchanges who we respect wouldn't even go into. And I think it's actually really speaking to the long-term vision of what you want Binance to become. And same with you, you know, in this case, you know, when we were talking back in Seattle, I think it's amazing to see where NEO 3.0 is going to go. And at the same time, you mentioned elements like on-chain custodian. Been fortunate to talk to Alexander and some of the team. It's so important to get this element of custodianship if we, again, not only want to see more people come into space and feel secure, but also get an institutional way, which I think a lot of us are eager for as well. Absolutely. So, you know, kind of going on to another question here on that point of being at less than 1% global adoption, I think it's a critical point we need to talk about. I think you guys have done a lot over the last few years, and you guys have built reputable brands because of it, not just for yourselves, but for the companies. So for us as a movement, where do you two believe we need to go in order to take us to the 5 to 10% that I think we can get to in global adoption over the next few years? What really is kind of the secret sauce that we need to see in both blockchain protocols as well as some of the exchanges and platforms that we use to interact with crypto?
I read your tweets. You said that one of the barriers is really secured wallet is really difficult to use, right?
Yeah, so I think on the application side, the ease of use of wallets is really, really important. But that's not a super strong point for us. We have a mobile wallet which is really good, Trust Wallet. And then we have Binance.com. So my focus or my personal focus is really just for Binance.com right now, just to make access really easy for people. And right today, most of the money 99.9% of the money probably sit in fiat. So we need to add more fiat access to crypto. So this is why we're working really, really hard to enabling fiat pairs or fiat currency directly on Binance.com. And now we believe the regulatory climate or the environment allows us to do that now. Whereas in 2017, we kind of perceived that as high risk, or at least uncertain. Whereas now we're very much comfortable with that. We're doing that or Binance US is doing that in the United States, and we're doing that. Binance.com is doing that everywhere else.
I mean, it's important. You've got to connect to traditional banking payment networks in countries like the United States. You've got to get the proper licensing. And again, in those developing regions you're focusing on, you're working with cash-based economies where some people, for the first time, are now interacting with some form of a digital bank with finance.
Yeah, so in some parts of the world, it's really interesting. Where, for example, in Africa, only 11% of the population have bank accounts. So that's really the unbanked population. But they no longer need to be banked. So they can just be cryptoed, right? So they can go directly to crypto. All they need is a phone with a wallet on it, and that's it. So it's actually, those markets may or may not be harder than the other banked markets. So it's just a different approach. Where with the banked markets, we actually have to work with a bank, and with the unbanked market, we just work with the phone.
It's amazing to see kind of the innovations I think that are coming out in wallets over the last year or so. So I'm excited to see people getting back to being their own custodian in this case, being able to play a role as their own bank. Dal, what's your take on this?
Actually, our NEO's recent goal is not to cater the end user, the consumers. I think it's not ready. So we are working really hard to satisfy the developers. So we set up an office in Seattle. That's why we had the DevCon in Seattle. The office is managed by a former Microsoft executives. They are busy building tools for developers. So now, today, you can use Visual Studio to write smart contract for NEO. So for now, for the past 2 years and maybe the next 1 or 2 years, we will be focusing on provide the best developer experience for developers.
And, Dal, to speak on that, going back all the way back to ant shares and stuff beforehand, I love the fact that you guys focused on language flexibility, not making it difficult for developers to get in. And I think you guys took it a step further when you had John Devidas come in from Microsoft. I've gotten to know him personally. He's a fantastic lead, taking years of experience building some of the developer platforms for Microsoft, and now trying to make NEO one of the key platforms for developers. It's absolutely key. So, going forward, I want to talk to you guys personally because I think, again, it's very difficult outside of these conferences and these kind of events to be able to kind of talk to the community. You guys are always on social media. You're out there in the public, I think through interviews and, different types of forms of communication. But sometimes I don't think they get to know that you guys are human. You guys have your own lives, you have your own struggles. And I think the one thing I would love to ask you guys is, what's kind of one of the misconceptions you think a lot of people have about the crypto space or how you guys do business? I think it's something that it's a good thing to talk about.
I think a lot of people think cryptos are all about marketing. There are some bad examples. We both know. Yeah, but actually it's not. You have to really build stuff. I would say 1/3 of my job is probably around marketing, but 2/3 of them are how to manage people, how to make sure the projects are properly funded, and how to set the path for the project to develop. So that's the one misunderstanding. And second one is a lot of people ask me, NEO is a Chinese project, but actually it is quite global actually. There are about 12 to 15 core developers for NEO, and only 2 of them speak Chinese, and the rest of them are from other countries. So it's really a quite global project.
My take on that is there is a lot of misconceptions about how crypto businesses or crypto projects work. But fundamentally, other than having a token, everything else is the same as traditional business, or it could be the same as traditional businesses. The same concepts apply. You either should generate revenue, If you're not generating revenue, at least you should have a product that a lot of people use. You still have to build value. So it's not just about, hey, issue a coin, pump and dump, like that. Those are all misconceptions. Even though we run exchange, people always like accuse me of pump and dump. Like I never trade. I usually don't really log into Binance. So I look at the front page, check some prices once in a while. Yesterday we were doing a big upgrade, so I look at the site to see if prices are moving or not. So that's pretty much. But fundamentally, the business concepts are the same. You got to build product people use. So that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, to kind of build on the points that you guys were talking about. I mean, I know Don, in this case, when it comes to building up the things that you're doing, you guys have a lot of resources at your hands, but at the same time, it's about allocating it properly. And I think in 2017, we didn't see a lot of projects do that, and you guys have actually pulled through. You've made use of the resources that you have. And the same case in your case, CZ, I think you guys have expanded well. You've kept on the message of continuing to expand a company and not just, I think, getting kind of pigeonholed into this idea of becoming just simply an exchange, but really trying to expand out into a variety of other services and really becoming hopefully a service, I guess, for the underbanked in all the different types of ways that we need financial services as users. To build on this, though, I want to go ahead and look a little bit more into the future. Talk about where you guys have your heads focused at the moment. What are some of the things you're excited about? Obviously, you guys are both leading in this space in a lot of big ways. So, let's start with you. What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to for NEO right now?
The biggest thing for NEO is interoperability. All the public blockchains, they're isolated. They're not talking to each other. It's not right. Blockchain meant to be open, meant to be interoperable. So NEO and Ontology and with other major blockchains, who we signed NDA with, are working on an interoperability protocol. So I imagine in a year's time or two, in 1 or 2 years' time, some of the blockchains will be connected together, and you can say that's kind of a free trade agreement zone. So the asset between the two different blockchains can be moved from one place to another, and human capital maybe even can be fluid from one place to another. So that's the thing that makes me excited.
But to talk about that, Don, just a little bit further, I mean, obviously there is the ability in this case to do atomic swaps and be able to transact value, and I think it speaks to the philosophy, as you mentioned, of blockchain. What are some of the kind of killer use cases you see with that ability of interoperability? I mean, obviously it seems like you're passionate about it.
Yeah, when we are working on the actual technical architecture of the protocol, we imagined a scenario. If you try to go from Shanghai to Beijing, in the summer, when there are rains, usually the flight will delay. So if you already book a flight, but you want to change it to the high-speed bullet train, so you need a atomic transaction that will cancel your flight, but make sure you get a ticket of the train. So that's actually a cross-chain transaction. So you have to cancel at the plane chain and buy a ticket at the train chain. So that's one of the scenarios.
All right. So we focus I think there's short-term goals and long-term goals. For the next 12 months or so, there's probably another 175 fiat currencies we wish to support, and that's our large goal. I don't know if we're going to do that, be able to accomplish that much in the next 12 months or so, but maybe just 20, 30, 40, 50, I don't know yet, but we're going for it. And longer term, I have a lot of strong hopes on Binance DEX. Binance DEX community is improving, is growing very quickly. The developers are very, very dedicated. They love it, and we are trying to solve the problems using smaller steps. So we do leverage Binance.com to do the pegging on different chains tokens. So we have pegged XRP, Ethereum. We almost definitely will peg NEO very soon, so that we can actually have the same value traded on Binance Chain, because Binance Chain has a pretty fast DEX. That's relatively easy to use. It's already the largest DEX in the world, even though the trading volumes it's not comparable to .com. But so those are the things we're working on. And there's a lot of really interesting, there's some really big interesting features on Binance DEX they're working on. It's going to take a few months to come out. So I don't want to sort of spoil it. But there's some really interesting developments.
I mean, honestly, I appreciate the narrative that you guys have because, again, I think taking a look back at the last 2 years, and really actually over the last decade of cryptocurrencies, I think we've kind of seen a push away from a lot of the core fundamentals of crypto to die. I really admire that you're still rooted in that same vision that you've had. I mean, since I first looked at AntShares, I think many people appreciate that you've stuck through on this. You've continued to expand out the NEO ecosystem far beyond just a simple platform. I mean, it's really exciting to see. I'm excited for NEO 3.0 and what you can do with this. Along with this as well, CZ, it's interesting to see how you guys don't simply want to just be a crypto-to-crypto exchange, trying to build, I think, a global liquidity pool in this case between all currencies. I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of something as simple as liquidity and dollar volume to be able to get not only price discovery, but to bring in that new wave of users, institutions, and retail investors. So it's fascinating to see that you have these visions as well as your support of DEXs and wallets. It's very much aligned with me personally. I love seeing that, getting back to the roots of someone being their own bank. But without me rambling too much, I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure sitting next to you guys, to have you both here. Real quickly, I want to get a round of applause from everyone, but we are going to have some questions after. So give real quick a round of applause for CZ and Bob. Alrighty, everyone. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to bring a mic around here in the crowd. If you guys want to go ahead, raise your hand. I'll go ahead and pick some people from the audience if you have some questions for Da or CZ.
Let me just add a little bit of how we met each other for the first question. We met each other in January-ish 2014. Yeah.
Wow, January of 2014.
Yeah, I didn't even remember this.
So at the time he was not working on NEO. He was not working on Ant. You were at Bitcoin Angel Club in Shanghai. There was a meetup there.
Yeah.
That's where how we met. So 5 years now.
Wow, that's incredible, guys.
This place is only like 500 meters from my current office. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
No, it's awesome. I think it's awesome to see, how kind of in this space and stuff, people and their friendships stick around. It's such an awesome space.
To be honest, he have not changed a bit.
Any embarrassing stories of Da? No, just kidding.
Gray hairs. I have a lot more gray hair. But.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's go ahead. We'll see if we get some questions here. We'll take one here from the front row.
A question to CJ. Hi, it's Michael from Node Pacific. We are validators for multiple public chains. I have a question about the Venus project. Actually, we are very interested and we would like to be one of the validators as well as Binance. So what will be the Venus, the project? How can we get involved with it?
Sure. So the Venus project is not a blockchain. So it's not one blockchain. So there's not really validators for Venus. Venus is a collection of stable coins we're working with governments to turn on. Binance Chain is a blockchain, and it has a limited number of validators for now, but in the future, we'll definitely open source it, have more validators open, and have a governance plus staking program most likely. We haven't figured out all the details, to be honest, so hopefully that will come up in due time. The reason we're delaying that right now is number one, we want to make the features more working, and number two, we want the other centralized exchanges to release their own versions of their chains first.
Thank you. We are specializing in the governance, so we hope we can make contribution with you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any more questions? I'm going to take them down here.
Hello, my name is Andre. We do research in terms of privacy, and my question will be for both of you. How do you feel, because cryptocurrencies get like crazy adoption for the last years, and as more it's adopted, as more people raise questions regarding privacy, and how you feel the privacy like for Binance, for NEO, for stablecoins, and what's your vision for the next steps?
Sure, I'll take a crack at it. For us, it's really more complicated because we have more products going on. So there's the .com area. That's a centralized exchange. The centralized exchanges are subject to AMA, KYC, and also working with regulators, etc. So there's one aspect of that, and we have to be fully compliant. There's the DEX, Binance Chain. Binance Chain works in terms of privacy for now, it works very similar to Bitcoin. Basically, if you know who owns the address, then you can track it. If you don't, then you don't know who that transaction is involved with. On a blockchain, there's less KYC and ML involved, so anybody can trade with an address. So we don't know who those people are. So yeah, that's a short answer for those two.
Yeah, with NEO, with ontology, with on-chain custodian, we definitely need to protect privacy, but privacy does not equal to anonymity. Anonymity is not the current focus of NEO and other public blockchains that I'm involved with. I would say I will let other blockchains to explore this area. And since we have interoperability protocol, if you need very strong privacy, you probably should transfer your asset to other blockchains.
I'll add one final point on that thing. The Binance DEX, because it's a DEX, the trading, you can see the trading history of an address, which is very interesting because on centralized exchanges, you actually can't tell who's trading which trades. So that causes some really shifts in the trading behavior. We may add a layer of privacy around that in the future. Fundamentally, I fully think privacy is a huge fundamental right to every human being.
Okay, we'll take one quick short question. One more here. We'll do one here in the middle of the crowd.
Thank you. So a few weeks ago, China's President Xi declared support for blockchain innovation. So what are your views on this announcement and how are your projects affected by this announcement?
Yeah, finally we got this one. Yeah, I think it's a very positive sign to signal to the whole industry. The stand of Chinese government and regulators hasn't changed a lot. They are against any speculative business. They are against raising money towards general public in China. They're against running exchange business in China, but not in other jurisdictions. Doing blockchain development is welcomed in China. So yeah, I think it's a positive thing for us.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a very positive thing for anyone who's developing a public blockchain in China, for example, NEO. China is always technology driven. They want to understand the technology. They want everyone in China to understand this technology so that they can better work with it. And right now, they did not say anything about Bitcoin cryptocurrency, and I believe the memo from 2 years ago not recommending exchanges to be there still stand. So, but overall, I think that this is a great educational. This is going to be the biggest educational effort so far in our industry, pushing 1.4 billion people to understand about blockchain, and I think it's a huge positive because I strongly believe that you can't learn about blockchain without learning about Bitcoin. And you cannot learn about smart contract without learning about NEO or Ethereum.
Yeah, let me add a few words. There are many enterprise, even local governments in China nowadays. They are looking for a permissioned blockchain solutions. They want companies to build permissioned blockchains for them. It's like building an intranet back to 1990s. So eventually, those intranet will be linked together, will be linked to the public blockchains. So yeah, I think it's a very positive thing for us. We would love to work with enterprises, local governments in China.
Yeah, I think you guys would agree with this, kind of going on this point, this question of China, is that when China makes this announcement, when it goes forward on innovating in a new technology, it doesn't stop, it gets everything on board. We've been seeing, I think, so far from the information, at least I've been able to see, and correct me if I'm wrong, the educational, the regulatory bodies of China have now started accelerating toward this. And I think what we're going to see is sort of a blockchain, kind of arms race in this case to get people, not just in China, but across a variety of countries in the world, a lot of the superpowers involved in this technology, where for the last decade, we've really been behind on it.
Before we went on stage, I read the news. Some small country just released their first central bank digital currency.
Yeah, I read. Yeah, actually, I read that as well. I think now, if China supports blockchain, it gives other countries no option but to support it. So it's not just 1.4 billion people. We're looking at 7 to 8 billion people that will around the world that will be educated. Countries should be raising. Countries are raising for it right now. And as you have seen, we have seen a lot of other governments coming to us proactively asking for our help. asking for our advices, our expertise, say, hey, look, we want to draft some regulatory framework. What should we do? What should we not do? So now we have governments coming to us asking this kind of for advices, which is fantastic. So I'm more positive. I'm more confident than ever that this industry will grow really quickly.
Yeah, I think that's one misconception we have sometimes in this space, is understanding that these regulatory bodies from a variety of different countries, a lot of them are really actually eager to understand the space. It's just a matter of playing catch up. I mean, we can't even sometimes keep up with what's going on in crypto. There's so much going on between the different projects and companies in this space. But I gotta say, CZ, this has been an absolutely great conversation. I appreciate you guys making the time. I know you're both busy. I think everyone here really appreciates it. Can we get a round of applause for two of the bigger names in the space? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay guys, so now that you have seen the Fireside chat, Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance, and Da Hongfei, the founder of NEO. So if you were around in this event, guys, let us know by just leaving your comment right here. What are your thoughts or your opinions, regarding what they have discussed recently in their Fireside chat? So don't hesitate to leave your comment down here below. So anyway, guys, so this is all for now. Thank you so much for taking your time and watching this video. So I hope this one helps you a lot, and I hope you have learned something from the Fireside chat between Changpeng Zhao and Da Hongfei. So don't hesitate or think twice in sharing this video to your crypto friends out there, especially those who are supporters of Binance and NEO. And one more thing, peeps, for you to stay notified about my latest videos about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, all you have to do is to click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. And not only that, you can also follow my official social media channels that are displayed here on the screen or in my YouTube description. So from here in Marina Bay Sands, Singapore, this is Jeff, aka Nomad Fury, and see ya on my next video.